Hi, kangaroos. Wanted to start off today with a little introduction to today's lesson plans for Wednesday, March 25th. You guys are continuing your Arctic Polar Week, and there's a bunch of cool things you can do today. It's a little bit about seals and walruses. You can take the time to study some of those a little bit more if you like. I think there's at least 3 activities pertaining to seals. But let's dive in. So for language arts today, you've got, you have 3 documents there you can use that are all like word wall flashcards of Arctic and polar words. Practice domain-specific vocabulary with these. If you need a challenge, you can try sounding them out first. Write them in your journal. Start with polar bear, p-o-l-r, bear. See what you can get. Bear is always a hard one. But it should be cool if you give it a chance to try them on your own first and then look at the words. Some kiddos will want to just look at the words and really work on their copying skills and their letter formation. Either way works. You can use dry erase boards if you like, or you can use, I like to say different mediums help. It's all good for fine motor skills. So if you use crayons, you have to push harder on the page, and that's important. Markers, you can get more creative. You could use gel pens if you have them, glitter pens if you have them. You could cut and paste some letters if you wanted to. Use this time to just expand that vocabulary. It'll be cool. Your cognitive development today is another mathematics activity from Everyday Mathematics. It's called Solid Shape Museum. And something I didn't tell you yesterday is that those curriculum pages I give you are pretty involved. They're meant in a big kindergarten classroom, and they have all these extensions to them. So it's really just for your own reference if you want to read sort of the key goals about what to do. But we do try to connect them back to our theme as much as we can. So sometimes there's a bridge that you're not seeing if you're just reading the pages. In this case, we're looking at 3D shapes. So some examples of Arctic 3D shapes would be ice cubes or snowballs. All of those are good, and that would teach you about cubes or spheres. You can do this by looking for other 3D shapes in your house. Think cones, pyramids, cubes, cylinders, rectangular prisms. All of those are awesome. You can also use some Play-Doh or sculpting material, kinetic sand. Nora, I'm looking at you. All of that will be awesome in order to try to make these shapes, because these are new. We haven't introduced these very much, so the words they do know I'll be impressed with, and then there's some new ones to introduce. You can always take it a step further and try creating igloos with ice cubes if you have them, or sugar cubes work really well. We make castles with sugar cubes, a week or so ago. All of those things are great for this activity. Going forward, you've got science and nature studies. So this is all about ice melting. Work on your prediction skills, your observation skills. Think about what will happen. You got to find a container of some kind. You can use the tub if you want. You can use a bucket. Trays will work if you want to, have a flatter surface to play on. You need ice, obviously. Get some warm or hot water, some salt to try to melt the ice like we do in the winter on the sidewalk. All of these are cool, and try to see which one melts melts the ice faster. I put that you could observe the ice in the sun if there happens to be sun tomorrow. Just give it a shot. Explore what makes the ice melt and how fast it does that. If you want to take this time, parents, to talk about global warming, this is a good moment. And sort of explain what happens as the ice melts and what that does to the environment. Totally up to you on that extension. Now we've got creative art activities. So just like yesterday, instead of making penguins, you're making walruses. So I put a little link to an example online we've used before. Really simple, like circles and half circles. Super simple shapes you can use to make walruses. I always find these funny. I still remember my first 2.5-year-old class where everybody's walrus looked totally crazy, and it was tons of fun. So enjoy making a walrus. And speaking of walruses, your music and movement activity for today, meaning Wednesday, is going to be the narrative poem The Walrus and the Carpenter by Lewis Carroll. Now, there's not a whole lot about Arctic animals, but there's a walrus in it, and it's fun. Lewis Carroll, obviously known for his nonsense, crazy poetry. and his just insane, wild stories. So lots of fun to give this one a try. Talk about different types of poetry. A narrative poem is obviously one that tells a story. There's an interesting use of meter here and a complex rhyme scheme. You're looking at A, B, C, B, D, B, which is something you could point out on the actual page if you print out the poem, which is in your email. I also gave you a link to The Walrus and the Carpenter as read, with some of the original poems, just sort of as the story. I also gave you the clip of The Walrus and the Carpenter from Disney's Alice in Wonderland movie. I believe it's slightly abridged, but I can't remember. It's worth checking out both versions. You can try to point out differences. I also gave you a link to the entire book of Alice in Wonderland if you would like to put that on. It's a pretty quiet one. You could do for rest time if you like. I would also, if you want to watch Alice in Wonderland, why not? Here's your chance. It's a good crossover, still, breaking into that exploration of classic literature, which I think every child should be exposed to really young if you can. It's awesome. Social science today, you guys are going to just have a fun building center. This one is always popular just because these kiddos, all y'all boys, I see you all love to build. So enjoy this one. Practice working together with a parent or a sibling and try to build, some igloos out of blocks. Try to build winter shelters if you have Arctic animals. You can talk about what a winter shelter would look like if you were stranded out somewhere like Alaska or the Arctic and you didn't know how to get anywhere. I know this happened really recently to a man who lived almost, I want to say, a month in a shelter he had dug out in the snow in order to try to stay as warm as possible. A little crazy. So enjoy that activity. Building is always fun. Use any blocks you have, any materials you have, any recycling materials you have, whatever you want. Go to town. Motor skills today, just like yesterday with the penguins, except this time you get to be seals. So there's a little game of seal soccer you can play where you have to be a seal. So you got to be on your belly and you have to use your flippers. And I recommend crossing your legs to keep you from using your legs to move around too much. You got to do this kind of movement like a mermaid, like a seal, like a whale, like all of those things. And you're going to push a soccer ball or some other small ball with your nose, and you can designate some goals. You can play with your family. This might be a good one for a yard if you have it. You might have to move some furniture in a living space, or if you have a playroom, all of that would be great. Enjoy. I hope that goes well. If there are funny videos, send them. I would love to see them. Last but not least, your computer lab today is a little more complicated and in-depth than it has been before because it's not just a game. You can always use Plum Landing on pbskids.org to explore more animals. But this one actually, if you go on this website and click the link I gave you, there is lesson resources for an activity called Migration Challenge. And this is a cool time to talk about migration because migrating birds often are found in the Arctic during the summer, and then they go ahead and fly south during the winter. So this concept can be illustrated through this lesson. It might be a little more involved than normal, but it's just a testament to the cool things you can find out there on the internet. So go for that if you would like. Don't forget to highlight the cardinal directions. We use those a lot in Cubeto with Miss Rosie. She'll be real proud of you guys. As always, let me know if you have any questions. I hope you have a great day. Bye, guys.